Why did you decide to cut your parents out of your life? I thought my family was normal. Sure, my mom had her moods, and my dad was always working. But doesn't everyone's family have issues? It wasn't until I started therapy in college that I began to see the red flags I'd been ignoring my whole life. My mom was the queen of guilt trips. Everything was always about her. If I got good grades, it was because she pushed me. If I struggled, it was because I wasn't grateful enough for everything she'd sacrificed. She had this way of making me feel like I owed her my entire existence, just for being born. My dad? He was her enabler. Whenever I tried to set boundaries or speak up, he'd give me the, "That's just how your mother is," speech. He'd rather keep the peace than protect his own kid from her constant criticism and manipulation. The breaking point came during my senior year of college. I was struggling with anxiety and depression, finally getting help through the campus counseling center. When I tried to explain to my parents that I needed some space to work on my mental health, my mom lost it. She accused me of being selfish and ungrateful. She said I was making up problems, and that therapy was just me paying someone to trash talk my family. My dad sat there silent while she screamed at me over the phone about how embarrassing it was that their daughter needed a shrink. But the final straw? She called my university and tried to get information about my counseling sessions. When the school rightfully refused, she somehow got my roommate's number and grilled her about my behavior and whether I was acting strange. That's when I realized this wasn't love. This was control. I started with low contact after graduation. I'd answer texts, but keep them brief. I'd visit for major holidays, but stay in a hotel. Every interaction felt like walking through a minefield. Nothing I did was ever right, and they seemed to take my independence as a personal attack. The decision to go full no contact happened after Christmas 2 years ago. I'd brought my partner home to meet them, thinking maybe things had improved. Within hours, my mom was making passive-aggressive comments about their appearance, their job, their family background. She pulled me aside and said I was settling, and that they were obviously using me. When I defended my partner, she started crying and saying I'd changed, that I used to care about my family's opinions. My dad just shrugged and said, "You know how she gets when she's worried about you." That night, lying in my childhood bedroom, I had this moment of clarity. I was 24 years old, and I was still tiptoeing around my mother's emotions like I was 7. I was still letting my father's inaction enable her behavior. I deserved better. I wrote them a letter explaining that I needed space to heal and grow, and that I wouldn't be in contact for the foreseeable future. I blocked their numbers, their social media, everything. I even had to block several relatives who tried to guilt me into fixing things with my parents. The first few months were brutal. I felt guilty, angry, sad, relieved, sometimes all at once. I kept therapy going and found an amazing support group for people estranged from their families. Turns out, I wasn't alone in this experience. 3 years later, I can honestly say my mental health has never been better. My relationship with my partner is stronger because I'm not constantly stressed about my family's approval. I've built chosen family with friends who actually support and respect me. Do I miss them sometimes? Of course, I miss the parents I wished I had, not the ones I actually grew up with. But I don't regret my decision for a second. To anyone reading this who's in a similar situation, you don't owe toxic people access to your life just because you share DNA. Family isn't supposed to make you feel small, anxious, or worthless. You deserve love that doesn't come with conditions.